So now that the truck's running, now I gotta hook power to the rear end. The first step to that is to get this yoke off of this 15-speed transmission and see if it's the same as the yoke on, well, see if the splines are the same as the yoke on the 9-speed. Because the one on the 9-speed is like almost an inch wider on each side. It's huge. And what I don't want to do, I really don't want to do, is have to cut that off and weld another one on, because I'd rather just not tamper with this. This thing is factory, it's balanced, it's straight. I'd rather just not mess with it. Wow, that came off too easy. That's not right. So let me go blast the nut off the other one. We'll see what we got. I don't know how I'm going to tighten that up. It just wants to spin.
Son of a son of a
Alright, there's actually an easy solution to this. So what we did here is board with a screw in it and put a line all the way around this wheel. Alright, so one thing that's important is I just put a line here basically so you guys can see it. But you can see the little screw line and the height. The height on all four should be the same that way, because if you go up here versus here down there, your measurement will be off. So mark your height and your centers after you do mark it with a screw. You can't just go to, like, say this thing here, because a lot of these tires aren't straight. So when you spin it with the screw and the 2x4, that gives you a nice accurate center line to go by. So I've already messed with this thing with a partner. This is a 2-person job, and obviously you loosen these clamps on each side and then just get your big pipe wrench on this tie rod and just move it forwards or backwards depending on what way you want to go. So on this one here, we got about 80 3/8 on the front. We got about 80.5 on the rear. 80.5 on the rear. So that's about what you want. You want the toe in, or the two fronts of the tires, to come together about an eighth, just about an 1/8 inch or so. That's the way I learned it, so That's the way I do it, and it seems to work. So now that we got that all adjusted, and a good way to do it is you can visually look between the front tires and the back wheels just to make sure nothing's far out of whack. And it looks at this point like they both steer to the passenger side about the same distance, so I think we're good. This thing was actually about a ½ inch off, which explains that's why this tread was wearing like that. So that really sucks because I gotta buy a new tire, but we'll roll with it for now that I got it fixed. And everything's tight, all the tie rods and everything are all tight. So it's like we're good to go with the front end. Did anybody ever hear the myth that if you cut aluminum with one of these grinders, the thing will explode? Well, let's find out if it really happens or not. All right, we made it out alive. What do we have behind door number 1? Look at that. I waited almost 2 weeks for it and I finally got it. So I got the smaller yoke, which will match the one that was on the shaft, with the splines that'll go in the transmission. So now I don't have to use this big huge thing. Because the problem is with this one here, I would have had to make it in order to buy this part of this bigger one, the shaft would have had to be a bigger shaft, which would mean I'd have to get a different carrier bearing and a different stub shaft. So we just went this route here. Wasn't cheap, but that's what made most sense. So pretty much the last thing I need to get this thing rolling. So let's get this son of a bitch on. All right. Looks like we got a little dilemma. So this stupid worthless cover that's on here, it hits these bolts, so let's grind them welds off and get that out of the way. All right, here we go. Got that all off. Should be good now. There we go. So here it is about a week and a half after the last clip was shot. As you can see, I have some turbo problems. Alright, well, just a long story short, I got the truck running and went to take it for a test drive and drove it up the road about 20 feet. And as soon as it would build up a little bit of pressure, this turbo started making a really awful whining noise. And when I did some investigation that night, the charge tube and this and the compressor housing were all full of oil. So it was pretty evident that I had a bad bearing. And I mean, there's a little bit of shaft play, honestly nothing that's that abnormal that I haven't felt before, but I ain't really got time to mess around because this is my work truck and I could chase parts for days, so I did something else. I got an aftermarket turbo from them people. It's supposed to be the same exact one, but it's not remanufactured. It's brand new, just aftermarket. This was about a third of the price from one from Cat or anybody else that sold the Borg Warner or Garrett turbos that Cat typically comes with. Hopefully it don't bite me in the ass for taking the cheap way out, but anytime I've ever bought the Chinese junk in the past, it actually worked better than brand name parts. So everything looks pretty good, so I'm going to get this on there and we'll go for round 2. Here it is all assembled. Guess I didn't have to tell you that. Wasn't bad, just like the old one. If you want to know how I put it on, just watch my other video. Everything fit pretty good. The only thing that didn't fit good, and I don't know why, was this. So this thing here goes into the turbo. It's got like a piston ring around it. Of course that's seized up and never coming out in one piece. And then this just basically holds the pipe. You got 3 bolts that hold this on, and for some reason or other, I don't know why, that didn't line up 100% with the 3 holes. So I had to put a couple washers back there because I don't want to just crank right down on this manifold in this thing because something's gonna break. So whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, that's why you get flex pipe. I mean, I'm sure I could find a new piston ring seal for that, but you know, it'll probably seal good enough for now, so we'll just run it. So check it out. I took this thing for a few rides and I got pulled over by the large car police. And this was their concern right here. They wanted to know what the this thing was doing on here. So I guess we're gonna change that, because apparently with any 3406 C15 or any 1600 series or any Caterpillar engine at that, if it's not straight piped, you'll end up writing jail, 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 jail. looks pretty cool. Painted it black just because that's what I had. Someday it'd be sweet to put some big 6-inch stacks, like tall stacks, on this thing. Alright, well here's the best part. Let's see what it sounds like. We got a proper exhaust for a Cat engine now. The only thing that I'm missing on this is the little thingies that go right here in between the valve cover and that. The little jigs that go in here. That's all I need now for this. Then we'll be 100% large car.